Yes, of course. Whenever they see you, they will be like, okay, collect it. Even when you tell me to play, if I happen to kill everybody, yes, even I looked out for characters like that, so that I will be in people's mind.
As a wicked person.
Yes. So, but the only thing I did is I added a little comic. Like some people say, when I act, I am so annoying to some point, but
at the point,
at some tilt, I will just make them laugh,
yeah,
right?
that's true, actually.
So you know that this is not real life, that's acting. All right. So I enjoy playing villain characters. I enjoy it. Let me cause the problem in that movie. Let me scatter that your home. You see, as Unagada, that time when this boy is wicked, this boy is a fool. What kind of I enjoy. Even I'm not seeing you guys, yes, but believe me,
you're ringing a bell now.
It is, yeah. So I mean,
all right. Let's talk about evolving in Nollywood, right? In the next 5 to 10 years, I mean, yes, we're getting there, right? Where do you see Nollywood? I mean, factors, they're trying to bring back movies to be shot in ENUGU, right? Because it seems like Asaba and Lagos have taken over. But then again, where do you see Nollywood from now till the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, I see us competing with Hollywood. Collaborating with Hollywood,
okay,
yes.
Collaborating.
Of course, definitely it's going to happen, because if you look at the musical industry, you see Whiskey doing some, gigs with Drake and R. Kelly, 50, yeah, you see the video, operating with likes of Chris Brown and co, right? So, but that yet not happening with Nollywood and Hollywood, because the gap is too much, right? So Nigerian factor still affecting Nollywood because of it's an individual thing, and the resources to make a quality movie so is not here. We're talking about 500 million, 1 billion naira, because the economy is so bad right now. So when we're talking about 1 billion can't even shoot a standard Hollywood movie. Yeah, so the truth is, in the next 5-10 years, Nollywood can live just like The Covenant. If you have seen, I don't know who has seen The Covenant here. When you watch The Covenant, I don't think
there's a little.
I don't think we have up to 10 years to get to Hollywood. It's all about the resources and the right, talent to put things in place. If you watch The Covenant, it's almost like an American movie. You watch the action so real, bullets piercing the walls, piercing, you see it's real, the shooting, the makeup and everything. So Nollywood, really, we have that talent. But I think the finance to back it up is the problem, and government is not helping. Yeah, so an individual will always look at 700 million here now. How do I get it back? So make a Kukuma go shoot 5 million naira film and hustle on YouTube. Yeah. Do you get?
All right. Thank you so much, Stanley Ubanugo. Our time is up. You're already telling us that time is up, right? I had a great time doing this conversation with you. I mean, you're a man with so many words, and we enjoy your movies. And we wish you well. In fact, you see that Covenant, I'm going to watch it. I want to see you playing that villain role. I want to
Of course. A betrayal that even my blood sister was like, she called me, she works with First Bank, she was like, man, if you not be my brother, how? So it really pierced their love for whatever they were seeing at the moment. Because when you thought there is hope,
someone shattered
it's my character that shattered it.
Okay. Yes. Your character.
Yeah, my character, not me.
Yes, thank you so much. I had
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And of course, the show has come to an end. Join us same time tomorrow for more interesting gist in the entertainment world, and of course, social media. Join us for more conversations like this. Follow all our social media platforms. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, and of course, enjoy the rest of your day. I remain your baby girl, Queenette Wokunta.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking, events occur, and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket. Signature TV. News in your pocket. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
New every morning on Signature TV, we open the day for you with needed energy, information, and required vibes to shape your day. From sizzling snippets of stories in various areas of life to intriguing conversations with net worth guests.
When you Welcome to Global News on Signature TV. I am Uchenna Chimdi Oluoha. In the headlines, Senate approved 68.3 trillion naira 2026 budget after adopting Tinubu's 9.09 trillion expansion proposal. ENUGU government confirms rabies outbreak in Iwo-Etiti local government area. U.S. Supreme Court rejects Colorado ban on LGBTQ child conversion therapy. And the Iran attacks cause fire in Kuwait, Bahrain, kill man in UAE. Details shortly.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking, events occur, and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
The House of Representatives has witnessed a wave of political defections as third-party lawmakers dump their parties over alleged internal crises and leadership disputes. The development comes as the House also passes a record 68.3 trillion naira budget for the 2026 fiscal year.
It was a dramatic session on the floor of the House of Representatives as Speaker Tajuddin Abbas read out resignation letters from 30 lawmakers announcing their defection from various political parties. The plenary drew high-profile political figures, including Kano State Governor Abba Yusuf, Deputy Senate President Jibrin Barau, and former APC National Chairman Abdullahi Ganduje, who were present to witness the realignments. From Kano State alone, 14 lawmakers defected, 9 of them from the NNPP, led by Deputy Minority Leader Ali Madaki, all moving to the APC. Some lawmakers from Imo State also changed platforms, moving from the PDP, Labour Party, and smaller parties, reflecting a broader political recalibration ahead of the 2027 general elections.
I write to formally inform you of my resignation from the new Nigerian People's Party, which has been duly documented at all levels. This decision comes after careful consideration and my ongoing crisis, internal crisis, and protracted court cases that have destabilized the party and hindered its ability to effectively represent the aspiration of our constituents. In light of these challenges, and in pursuit of a more stable and progressive platform, through which I can continue to serve the good people of Dawakin Tofa, Rimengado, Federal Constituency, I have resolved to join the All Progressive Congress APC.
In a separate development, the House approved a 68.30 trillion naira budget for 2026, significantly higher than President Bola Tinubu's initial proposal. The approval followed the adoption of a report presented by the House Committee on Appropriation, chaired by Abubakar Kabir, detailing adjustments to the appropriation bill and funding framework.
Fundamentally, the 2026 appropriation bill seeks to consolidate macroeconomic stability, improve the business and investment environment, promote job-rich growth, and reduce the poverty rate with a view to strengthen human capital while protecting vulnerable stakeholders. Legislative actions. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, the House debated on the general principle of the bill on Thursday, 29 January 2026. As a conclusion of the debate, the bill was read a second time and subsequently referred to the Committee on Appropriation for the further legislative action.
A breakdown of the budget shows 4.79 trillion naira allocated for statutory transfers, 15.80 trillion naira for debt servicing, and over 32 trillion naira earmarked for capital development. Key sectors such as defense, police affairs, and the electoral body INEC also received significant allocations. Lawmakers also approved new borrowing requests, including a $5 billion facility from Abu Dhabi Bank and $1.94 billion for port rehabilitation projects in Lagos. In addition, the House extended the implementation of the 2025 capital budget to June 30, 2026 to allow for completion of ongoing projects. The House has now adjourned plenary until April 21, 2026.
The Senate has also approved an aggregate expenditure of 68.32 trillion naira for the 2026 fiscal year, after adopting a series of budget adjustments proposed by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, expanding the original fiscal framework by approximately 9.09 trillion naira. A breakdown of the budget shows 32.29 trillion naira allocated to capital expenditure, 15.43 trillion naira for recurrent spending, 15.81 trillion naira earmarked for debt servicing, and 4.80 trillion naira set aside for statutory transfers to constitutionally backed institutions. These steps aim to close the financing gap for 2026. The 2026 budget aims to accelerate infrastructure delivery, strengthen institutions, and support economic growth. Investments in transportation and governance are expected to improve productivity and service delivery.
And now, the committee for a job well done expeditiously, even though the thing was read today and our rules allow by Rule 39, but they have done a fantastic job and I'm very impressed. And I must commend them for this report which has been sent to us and congratulate all senators and pray that these $5 billion so approved by the Nigerian Senate today will assist this administration to meet its capital obligations and then take Nigeria out of the current financial doldrums. I thank all of you.
While the Senate has directed the Inspector General of Police, Tunji Disu, to commence a comprehensive investigation into the recent killings in Anguwan Rukuba, Jos North local government area of Plateau State, where at least 28 persons were reportedly killed. The lawmakers also resolved to send a delegation led by Senate President Godswill Akpabio to commiserate with affected communities. The resolutions followed a motion of urgent public importance sponsored by Senator Dickett Plang, Plateau Central, and Senator Dachung Madkon, Plateau North, who raised concerns over the worsening security situation in Kanam and Jos North local government areas. Leading debate on the motion, Plang lamented that Plateau State, once celebrated as the home of peace and tourism, has witnessed a resurgence of violent attacks after years of relative stability.
While many were enjoying their Sunday evenings and many others returning from evening services, scores were killed and many injured. Senate further note that this recent attack appears to be a well-coordinated and well-orchestrated targeting defenseless citizens in a densely populated area bubbling with social, economic, and religious activities on a Sunday evening when citizens are going about their businesses, oblivious of the dangers around them.
The lawmakers expressed concern over what they described as the increasingly complex nature of the crisis, noting its economic, ethnic, and religious dimensions. They urged the Senate leadership to expedite the proposed National Security Summit if it would produce practical solutions to the country's growing security challenges. The Senate urged security agencies to adopt proactive strategies, including permanent bases in volatile.
Prayer 2, direct the Inspector General of Police to commence investigations and bring the culprits to face the full wrath of the law. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Send a high-power delegation led by the incumbent president of the Senate to the crisis areas to condole with the Plateau people and the victims. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, has called for the immediate suspension of ongoing political campaigns, warning that premature politicking is undermining governance and worsening insecurity across Nigeria. Falana urged the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and the Nigeria Police Force, the State Security Service, to enforce compliance with the law by halting what he described as illegal early campaigns. Citing Section 98, Subsection 1 of the Electoral Act 2026, Falana stressed that political campaigns are legally permitted to begin only 150 days before Election Day and must end 24 hours before the polls. He noted that with elections still about 10 months away, current campaign activities are in clear violation of the law. INEC has scheduled the presidential and National Assembly elections for January 16, 2027, and governorship and state assembly elections for February 6, 2027. Despite this timeline, Falana lamented that political parties and elected officials have already intensified campaigns, diverting attention from governance to political activities, such as defections and rallies. According to him, this shift in focus has contributed to a decline in governance and rising insecurity, including increased cases of kidnapping and killings across the country. Falana also criticized what he described as a misplacement of priorities, alleging that public funds are being spent on early political campaigns instead of critical sectors like education. The Enugu state government has confirmed an outbreak of dog rabies in Igbo-Etiti local government area. The State Commissioner for Agriculture and Agro-Industrialization, Dr. Patrick Ubru, who disclosed this in a statement in Enugu, urged residents to take immediate precautions to prevent the spread of the disease. Uburu explained that rabies is a highly fatal viral disease that affects both animals and humans and is primarily transmitted through the bite or saliva of infected animals, particularly dogs. The Commissioner outlined several containment measures to include immediate vaccination, restraining of animals, avoiding contact with strays, and reporting of cases. He advised dog owners to vaccinate their pets without delay and confine them to prevent them from roaming freely, while urging residents to avoid contact with stray or unfamiliar animals. Uburu advised anyone bitten or scratched by an animal to wash the wound thoroughly with soap under running water for at least 10 minutes and seek urgent medical attention. He said the ministry is working closely with relevant authorities to contain the outbreak and safeguard public health, and advised residents to contact the State Veterinary Services Department for further information or to report suspected cases. What is the incentive for any Nigerian to join the war against corruption? Government at all levels says it is a mark of character and patriotic duty to do so. But the odds seem stacked against the whistleblower who, out of patriotism and character, exposes corruption in Nigeria. Correspondent Chimezie Nzedimma reports.
The odds are stacked heavily against the Nigerian who chooses to expose corruption. There is the law against bringing a public officer to disrepute. There is yet another against providing government to unauthorized persons. And the Official Secret Act is the big elephant in the room. For a whistleblower, these are laws watching to send him to jail for not holding his mouth. A non-governmental organization, Step Up Nigeria, in collaboration with the Platform to Protect Whistleblowers, launched a creative way to put pressure on the culture of corruption in Nigeria.
Whistleblowing, according to PLAF, is the responsible disclosure of wrongdoing encountered through work in the public interest. And so that's where our emphasis is. It's estimated that if there was more whistleblower protection in Nigeria, Nigeria will be able to have recovered and saved over 3 trillion in looted funds over the last 20 years. And so by not blowing the whistle, Nigeria is actually losing money by not protecting whistleblowers.
Focusing on the 2026 World Whistleblower Day Art and Media Competition, the organizers say young Nigerians should be encouraged to develop a culture of transparency and accountability. The 2026 Art and Media Competition encourages participants between 15 and 35 years to use music, art, skits, poetry, and writing to promote integrity.
Now we are inviting Nigerian youth to build stories that can last for the next 20 years. For this competition, it could be your voice that changes the mindset of people 20 years to come. That skit that you create, the video, the song, the poem, those creative content that you generate in this competition are not just for yourself, but they are there to educate and inspire other young people in Nigeria to take action for whistleblowing and whistleblower protection in Nigeria. As Gaza has alluded, we have 2 million naira in cash and prizes for the winners of this competition. We're picking 5 winners across the 5 categories that we've explained, which are music, arts, skits, poem, and writing.
Nigeria's foremost anti-corruption agency, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, was excited at the initiative. Its spokesperson, Dele Oyewale, said the anti-corruption war cannot be left to the government agencies alone, describing whistleblowing as critical to success of the fight.
The anti-corruption fight is not for the EFCC alone. It should be a pan-Nigerian fight. Every Nigerian should see himself or herself as a stakeholder in the fight against corruption. And this initiative is particularly meaningful and remarkable because it is seeking to mobilize the youth.
Oyewale, however, said there was no protection for the whistleblower in Nigeria because the National Assembly has not passed any such law. He advised whistleblowers to provide only credible and veritable information, stating that false information begins a journey to jail. The Deputy Director of Youth Engagement and Inclusion at the National Orientation Agency, Muhammad Wabi, however, urged young Nigerians to speak out against corruption. He assured that information provided to government agencies would be treated confidentially. Organizers said submission for the competition closed on April 12th, with winners expected to be announced ahead of the 2026 World Whistleblowers Day on June 23rd. In Abuja, Chimeze Zadima reporting for Signature TV News.
U.S. Supreme Court rejects Colorado ban on LGBTQ child conversion therapy. Iran attacks cause fire in Kuwait, Bahrain, kill man in UAE. Details of these and more on our foreign stories.
President Donald Trump has said the United States could stop attacking Iran within 2 to 3 weeks, and that a deal is not necessary to end a war that has disrupted energy supplies and shaking the global economy. His comments came as Iranian Minister of Foreign Affairs Abbas Araghchi said on Tuesday that no negotiations are going on with Washington, despite direct and indirect exchanges of messages, nearly 5 weeks after the US and Israel began attacking Iran. Trump, who previously claimed that Iran was engaged in negotiations and begging for a deal, appeared to change his tune on Tuesday on the alleged diplomatic drive. Iran has always maintained that its nuclear activities are peaceful and that it has never sought to produce a nuclear weapon. The United States Supreme Court has ruled against a law in the state of Colorado that bans the controversial practice of conversion therapy of LGBTQ children, a discredited practice that has been linked to serious harm for participants. Tuesday's ruling was an 8-1 decision, with 2 of the court's 3 liberal judges joining its 6 conservatives in opposing the ban. The court's majority argued that restricting talk therapy could violate the free speech protections enshrined in the First Amendment of the Constitution. About 24 U.S. states have laws banning conversion therapy, which aims to convert the gender identity or sexual orientation of individuals to reflect heterosexual, cisgender norms. Studies have linked the practice to higher rates of depression and suicidal thoughts for LGBTQ people. A judge has ruled that U.S. President Donald Trump cannot proceed with his planned $400 million ballroom on the site of the White House's demolished East Wing without approval from Congress. District Judge Richard Leon on Tuesday granted a request for a preliminary injunction filed by the National Trust for Historic Preservation, which sued after alleging Trump had exceeded his authority by raising the historic East Wing and launching construction on the new building. Leon said the order does not affect construction necessary to ensure the safety and security of the White House. His ruling keeps the 90,000 square foot ballroom project on hold while the lawsuit continues. The judge said he was pausing his order for 14 days to allow the Trump administration to appeal. Hours later, the Justice Department filed an appeal at the Washington, D.C. based U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit. Iran's drones have hit fuel tanks at Kuwait International Airport, causing a large blaze. And authorities in Bahrain have reported a fire at an undisclosed company facility as the United States-Israel war on Iran continues for a fifth week. Abdullah al-Rajhi, a spokesman for the General Directorate of Civil Aviation in Kuwait, on Wednesday, said the airport had been subjected to brazen attacks by drones from Iran and the armed factions it supports. The raids targeted fuel tanks at the airport, leading to a large fire breaking out at the site. And that's it on the foreign news.
Coming up now is the latest from the world of sports.
Nigeria Super Eagles will miss out on the global spectacle as Africa sends a record 10 teams to the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Africa will send a record 10 team to the 2026 FIFA World Cup in the USA, Canada and Mexico, marking the continent's strongest ever showing at football's biggest stage. 9 nations secured direct qualification by topping their CAF qualifying groups in October 2025. DR Congo qualified for the 2026 World Cup and the entire city went wild, non-stop dancing, singing, horns blaring and pure joy everywhere. Excited football fans took to the soaked streets of the capital, Kinshasa, and danced into the night in the rain after the Democratic Republic of Congo reached the World Cup for the first time in 52 years. Defender Axel Tuanzebe, who plays in the Premier League for Burnley, was the hero with the only goal in a 1-0 win over Jamaica after extra time in an intercontinental playoff in Mexico on Tuesday. The Central African nation will face Portugal, Colombia and Uzbekistan in Group K at the finals in North America this summer.
This one will be an in-swinging ball towards the near post, sneaks through, it's in! Axel Tuanzebe is broken through for DR Congo. 1-0 in extra time. It's words that have never been spoken before. DR Congo is going to the World Cup.
In golf, Tiger Woods says he's stepping away for a period of time to seek treatment and focus on his health following an arrest after a car crash. The 50-year-old was arrested and charged with driving under the influence after clipping a truck and rolling his car in Florida on Friday. He was also charged with property damage and refusal to submit to a lawful test. The 15 times major champion submitted a written plea of not guilty via his lawyers on Tuesday. That came after a police report earlier on Tuesday detailed his behavior after the crash. Prior to the crash, Woods had not ruled out playing in next month's Masters, though he has not competed at a major since missing the cut at the Open in July 2024. In cricket, a sensational display of batting by skipper Amelia Kerr as her side New Zealand women scripted history in the second ODI against South Africa women, achieving the highest successful run chase in women's ODI history at the Basin Reserve to level their 3-match series 1-1, chasing a target of 347 runs. Captain Amelia Kerr hammered an unbeaten 179 off 139 balls.
Next is entertainment news with Queeneth Mokonta.
Former Nollywood actress Tonto Dike has opened up on her past, revealing that she was once involved in cultism and activities linked to what she refers to as dark spiritual forces. Dike made the disclosure during a ministration in Tanzania, where she publicly shared details of her personal journey and transformation. Reflecting on her time in the entertainment industry, Tonto said she had taken part in several troubling experiences, saying she devoted a significant part of her life to what she now views as demonic influences.
I have put my hands in so many dirt, so many filthy. I have joined cults, cooperated and worked for the demon so hard, and I know who he is, and I know that he does not have anything over me anymore. And today, God said no. Mercy said no. He said I will come and I will take back take back, I will clean you up. I will put you on altars to preach my gospel. I will thank you. As you're sitting down here, I need you to know that some of us here are the only Bible that some people will ever get to read. Give them a good read. Make sure your neighbor is really right.
Her remarks come after she recently embraced Christianity, a decision she says has reshaped her life and perspective. Famous Nollywood actress Iyabo Ojo is blaming Toyin Abraham for violating her peace condition with Funke Akindele. This comes 2 days after Funke Akindele publicly snapped Toyin Abraham at Iyabo Ojo's movie premiere, an incident that quickly sparked reactions from netizens, with many calling on Iyabo to intervene. Reacting to the controversy in an Instagram post, Iyabo, who says she had previously mediated between the two actresses, disclosed that the terms of their reconciliation included a strict agreement that neither party would throw subtle jabs online if issues arose. She said they both agreed to handle any disagreements privately. Iyabo attributed the latest breakdown of the peace to Toyin Abraham's alleged failure to uphold that agreement and expressed frustration over the ongoing rivalry. She stated that she no longer wishes to be involved, urging the public to respect her decision to step away from the matter. Award-winning singer and global superstar Celine Dion has announced a return to live performances, marking a significant moment in her career as she continues to manage a rare neurological disorder. The music icon revealed plans for upcoming concerts, signaling renewed strength and determination after stepping back from the spotlight due to health challenges. Dion was previously diagnosed with stiff person syndrome, a rare and currently incurable condition that affects muscle control and can cause severe spasm. Despite the ongoing battle, the music icon expressed optimism and a deep desire to reconnect with fans.
Hi, everyone. You know, in my career, I've recorded a lot of birthday messages, but this is the first time I've ever recorded one for my own birthday. And wow, it's been kind of hard keeping it a secret from myself. But I want to let you know that I'm doing great, managing my health, feeling good. I'm singing again, even doing a little bit of dancing, obviously, you know, I love it so much. But I have to tell you something very important. Over these last few years, every day that's gone by, I felt your prayers and support, your kindness and love. Even in my most difficult times, you were there for me.
Her comeback is being seen as both a personal victory and an inspiring testament to resilience in the face of adversity. While details about the concerts remain limited, supporters around the world have welcomed the news with excitement, celebrating her return to the stage and continued passion for music. That's the entertainment news. Queeneth Mokunta, Signature TV News.
the size of our package. I am Uchenna Chimdi Oluoha. Thanks for watching.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking, events occur, and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
The Assembly will hear an address by His Excellency Masoud Pezeshkian, President of the Islamic Republic of Iran. I request protocol to escort His Excellency and invite him to address the Assembly.
In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful, Mr. Secretary General, Madam President, distinguished representatives, ladies and gentlemen, the theme of this year, and I quote, "Better Together, 80 years and more of peace, development, and human rights," unquote, is in truth a summons to solidarity and to a shared vision of a brighter future. Our religious conviction, as well as the call of the prophets, rests upon the equality of the rights of all human beings. That which renders man more worthy is piety, namely truthfulness, wisdom, purity, and benevolence. The bedrock of all divine religions and of the human conscience is this golden maxim: that which you would not approve for yourself, do not approve for others. Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, once said, "Act towards others as you would have them act towards you." The Prophet of Islam, peace be upon him, said, "None of you is a true believer unless he desires for others what he desires for himself." The sage Hillel, the elder, expressed the essence of the Torah as such: "That which is hateful unto thee, do not do unto thy fellow." In the traditions of the Orient, likewise, the central teaching is this very principle, and secular schools of ethics grounded in reason and conscience have arrived at the same conclusion. Excellencies, is this the state of our world? Let us behold the past 2 years. The world in these 2 years was witness to genocide in Gaza, was witness to the destruction of homes and repeated violation of sovereignty and territorial integrity in Lebanon, was witness to the devastation of Syria's infrastructure, was witness to assault against the people of Yemen, was witness to the forced starvation of emaciated children in the arms of their mothers, was witness to the assassination of Iran's scientists, was witness to the surreptitious raids infringing upon the sovereignty of nations, violating the territorial integrity of states, and openly targeting leaders of people. And all of this under the full support of the most heavily armed regime in the face of the earth, and under the pretext of self-defense. Would you countenance such things for yourselves? Who is the disturber of the stability of the region and the world? Who is the actual threat against international peace and security? Who is the violator of the golden moral maxim of mankind? Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, you all bore witness that this past June, my country was subjected to a savage aggression in flagrant contravention of the most elementary principles of international law. The aerial assaults of the Zionist regime and the United States of America against Iran's cities, homes, and infrastructures, precisely at a time when we were treading the path of diplomatic negotiations constituted a grave betrayal of diplomacy and a subversion of efforts towards the establishment of stability and peace. This brazen act of aggression, in addition to martyring a number of commanders, citizens, children, women, scientists, and intellectual elites of my country, inflicted a grievous blow upon international trust and the very prospect of peace in the region. Should we fail to confront such perilous breaches of international norms, these aberrations shall spread to engulf the world. The assault upon nuclear facilities under safeguards and international supervision, the open attempt to assassinate leaders and duly constituted officials of UN member states, the systematic targeting of journalists and members of the press, and the killing of human beings who solely by the reason of their knowledge and expertise are converted into military targets. Again, would you countenance such acts for yourselves? With this behavior, they have killed at the very least over 35,000 innocent civilians in Gaza. They have deprived them of food, drinking water, medication, and proper health care. Those who have perpetrated such crimes this nation, with a magnanimous spirit and the systematic targeting of journalists and members of the press and the killing of human beings who solely by the reason of their knowledge and expertise are converted into military targets. Again, would you countenance such acts for yourselves? Those who have perpetrated such crimes must know that Iran, the most ancient continuous civilization upon the face of the earth, has ever stood steadfast against the tempests of history. This nation, with a magnanimous spirit and an eternal will, has time and again demonstrated that it shall never bow before aggressors. And today as well, in the face of the transgressors, it stands upright with reliance upon the power of faith and its national cohesion. In this 12-day defense, the patriotic and valiant people of Iran laid bare before the aggressors the fallacy and self-delusion of their arrogant calculations. The enemies of Iran unwittingly fortified the sacred national unity. The people of Iran, despite the most severe, protracted, and crushing economic sanctions, psychological and media warfare, and persistent efforts to sow discord, at the very instant the first bullet was fired upon their soil, rose in unison in support of their valiant armed forces, and today they continue to honor the blood of their martyrs. Here, in the name of all Iranian people, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to all personalities, nations, governments, and international and regional organizations that stood in solidarity with Iran during this war. Ladies and gentlemen, today, after nearly 2 years of genocide, mass starvation, the perpetuation of apartheid within the occupied territories, and aggression against its neighbors, the ludicrous and delusional scheme of a greater Israel is being proclaimed with brazenness by the highest echelons of that regime. The scheme encompasses vast swaths of the region. The map itself lays bare the true intentions of the Zionist regime, intentions that have, of late, been openly endorsed by its criminal prime minister. None in the world is secure from the aggressive machinations of this regime. It is manifest that the Zionist regime and its sponsors no longer even content themselves with normalization through political means. Rather, they impose their presence through naked force and have styled it peace through strength. Yet, this is neither peace nor power. It is nothing but aggression rooted in coercion and bullying. But we envision our powerful Iran alongside powerful neighbors within a strong region with a radiant future. A future in which we stand together against a grand project that imposes genocide, destruction, and instability upon the region. A future in which collective security is assured through genuine mechanisms of defensive cooperation and joint response to threats. A future in which human dignity and cultural diversity are cherished as foundational values. a future in which collective development is realized through joint investment in infrastructure and modern sciences, a future in which energy security and the equitable use of vital resources from the pillars of economic stability, a future in which the environment is safeguarded for posterity, a future in which national sovereignty and the territorial integrity of states are regarded as non-negotiable principles, a future not in pursuit of peace imposed by force, but founded upon strength derived through peace. In such a strong region, slaughter and bloodshed shall find no place. It is for this very reason that my country has, for many years, been among the staunchest advocates of establishing a region free of weapons of mass destruction. Yet those who themselves possess the largest nuclear arsenals and who, in flagrant breach of the NPT, make their weapons even deadlier and more destructive, have for years subjected our people to pressures on the basis of spurious allegations. Last week, 3 European states, having failed through a decade of bad faith and thereafter by supporting military aggression to bring the proud people of Iran to their knees, at the behest of the United States of America, sought by means of pressure, coercion, imposition, and manifest abuse to reinstate against Iran the Security Council resolutions that had already been terminated. In doing so, they set aside good faith. They circumvented legal obligations. They sought to portray Iran's lawful remedial measures taken in response to the United States' withdrawal from the JCPOA and to Europe's breach and utter incapacity as a gross violation. They falsely presented themselves as parties of good standing to the agreement, and they disparaged Iran's sincere efforts as insufficient. All of this was in pursuit of nothing less than the destruction of the very JCPOA, which they themselves had once held as the foremost achievement of multilateral diplomacy. This unlawful measure, which has also met the opposition of certain members of the Security Council, possesses no international legitimacy and will not garner the approbation of the international community. I hereby declare once more before this assembly that Iran has never sought and will never seek to build a nuclear bomb. We do not seek nuclear weapons. This is our belief based on the edict issued by the supreme leader and by religious authorities. Therefore, we never sought weapons of mass destruction, nor will we ever seek them. Whereas those who disturb the peace and stability in the region lies in Israel, but Iran is the one that is being punished for those actions. There is a poem that roughly says something to the effect that someone in one side of the world does something to disturb the peace and someone else is punished for those actions. Ladies and gentlemen, the Islamic Republic of Iran welcomes peace and stability. We believe that the future of our region and of the world must be built upon cooperation, trust, and shared development. In this framework, Iran supports the peace process between the Republic of Azerbaijan and the Republic of Armenia and hopes that its outcome shall be enduring and serve as a foundation for improved relations between these two neighboring states. Iran also hopes that the efforts to bring an end to the war in Ukraine may result in a just and lasting agreement between Russia and Ukraine and bring solace to the human suffering caused by this crisis. Iran welcomes the defensive pact between the two brotherly Muslim countries, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, as a beginning for a comprehensive regional security system with the cooperation of the Muslim states of West Asia in the political, security, and defense domains. Finally, Iran condemns the criminal aggression of the Israeli regime against Qatar, which resulted in the martyrdom of a number of Palestinian and Qatari nationals, and declares its support and solidarity with the government and people of Qatar. Ladies and gentlemen, true security is not achieved through force, but through confidence building, mutual respect, regional convergence, and multilateralism grounded in international laws. Based on this foundation, a call upon all to practice listening to one another instead of raising voices, to re-examine the intellectual premises of polarization and political violence, which today ensnares not only the international community, but also renders societies internally with tension and turmoil. to uphold as the common denominator of all beliefs and cultures the principles that whatever we do not approve for ourselves, we should not impose upon others, instead of distorting concepts and narratives with biased interpretations. To restore and rehabilitate the credibility of international laws, institutions, and mechanisms, and to commit to the establishment of a regional system of security and cooperation in West Asia. Ladies and gentlemen, we Iranians have extended our power in the world not by producing and employing nuclear weapons, nor by the slaughter of hundreds of thousands in the 20th century, nor by genocide and the imposition of starvation upon the children in Gaza in the 21st century, and not even through the historic empires of Iran, but rather through a culture of human fellowship and the message of empathy of universal sages such as Rumi, Hafiz, Saadi, who 8 centuries ago declared, human beings are members of a whole, in creation of one essence and soul. If one member is inflicted with pain, other members uneasy will remain. If you have no sympathy for human pain, the name of human, you cannot pertain. Those criminals who bully by murdering children are not worthy of the name human being, and assuredly they shall never prove to be trustworthy partners. Relying upon its time-honored tradition of altruism and human fellowship, Iran is a steadfast partner and a trustworthy companion for all peace-seeking countries, a friendship and a partnership grounded not in fleeting expediency, but in dignity, trust, and a shared future. We, the upright people of Iran, by standing firm against lawless marauders, have surmounted with honor the injustices, discriminations, and double standards imposed upon us. And today, with an opportunity-oriented outlook, we have transformed this historic achievement of the Iranian people into a platform for a leap toward a hopeful future. Let us together, with you, turn threats into opportunities. I thank you.
On behalf of the Assembly, I wish to thank the President of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The Assembly will hear an address by
Signature TV, news in your pocket. Signature TV, news in your pocket.
New every morning on Signature TV, we open the day for you with needed energy, information, and required vibes to shape your day. From sizzling snippets of stories in various areas of life to intriguing conversations with net worth guests.
When you have people who have no track record becoming your leaders, you have a problem.
There's no outstanding graduate when Obi took over from me. I left, in all the accounts of Anambra State, 13.8 billion for him.
Your day cannot be complete without Signature Morning on weekdays and Signature New Day on weekends. There is no better way to start your day except Signature Morning and Signature New Day every day on Signature TV.
Health is more than a diagnosis. It's your lifestyle, your choices, and your future. Join us on Inside Health, your weekly deep dive into the stories, science, and solutions shaping your well-being. From expert interviews to real-life journeys of healing and hope, we cover it all.
One of the complications of cancer management or treatment is they have some of them, at one point in time, you see them having anemia. Okay, so you see them at times being transfused. But at the same time, you come in with a diet.
Nutrition, mental health, innovations in medicine, fitness, and everyday wellness. Whether you're managing a condition, staying informed, or just living your best life, Inside Health is your trusted guide.
I'm Chigichi Agorom, and I'll be with you every week on Inside Health.
only on Signature TV.
The way we see the world shapes the way we change it. Gender isn't just a checkbox, it's a lens, one that helps us understand the world more deeply and act more fairly. Gender Perspectives, a program for those ready to see more, do more, and be more. Designed to challenge assumptions, ignite conversations, and build inclusive solutions across every sector of society.
We are not, fighting the men. We are not saying we are equal in terms of rights. We're only asking they should recognize our existence.
Join us on Gender Perspectives, showing every Saturday by 4 p.m. Repeat every Wednesdays by 5 p.m. and Thursdays by 3 p.m. Change begins with perspective. Let's widen yours.
Bright and early, as the day breaks, as the newspaper headlines trail the stories that shape the day, we at Signature TV trail the headlines that trail the day. We interrogate the headlines. We analyze the stories that make the headlines.
Why is overrated, and they even overrated themselves, and when you go see it, they are insensitive of some Nigerian children who have never had what they call CBT.
With passion and emotion, we drive the conversation to change a narrative.
Let nobody be deceived by Nigerian high level of performing in agriculture export. We are still where we are.
Newspaper review on Signature TV every morning on Signature Morning, weekdays, and Signature New Day, weekends. Newspaper review on Signature TV. We do not just review the headlines, we make the headlines relevant to our daily lives.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
Health is more than a diagnosis. It's your lifestyle, your choices, and your future. Join us on Inside Health, your weekly deep dive into the stories, science, and solutions shaping your well-being. From expert interviews to real-life journeys of healing and hope, we cover it all.
One of the complications of cancer management or treatment is they have some of them, at one point in time, you see them having anemia. Okay, so you see them at times being transfused. But at the same time, you come in with a diet.
Nutrition, mental health, innovations in medicine, fitness, and everyday wellness. Whether you're managing a condition, staying informed, or just living your best life, Inside Health is your trusted guide.
I'm Tigiti Agorom, and I'll be with you every week on Inside Health, only on Signature TV.
Get plugged into the heartbeat of entertainment on The Hub, your ultimate show on eVibes. From trending stories and social media drama to top charting music, must-watch movies and exciting moments from the world of arts, we've got it all. Join us for unmissable conversations with your favorite entertainment personalities, plus fun segments every week.
So I should try harder. So
Okay, I don't know that one.
outfit of the day.
Oh, I don't do that.
Oh.
That's some Gen Z stuff.
Oh, now you say it's a Gen Z stuff.
It's everything you love about entertainment, served fresh every week at 1 p.m. with weekend repeats just in case you missed it. The Hubs on eVibes, where the vibes never stop. Only on Signature TV.
New every morning on Signature TV, we open the day for you with needed energy, information, and required vibes to shape your day. From sizzling snippets of stories in various areas of life to intriguing conversations with net worth guests.
When you have people who have no track record becoming your leaders, you have a problem. There's no outstanding graduate
when Obi took over from him. I left, in all the accounts of Anambra State, 13.8 billion for him.
Your day cannot be complete without Signature Morning on weekdays and Signature New Day on weekends. There is no better way to start your day except Signature Morning and Signature New Day every day on Signature TV.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Development Discourse, where we ideate for Africa's development. My name is Patrick Okibo. I'm the founding partner at Next Year. Next Year is a multi-competency advisory firm that's focused on solving Africa's complex development challenges. And some of these complex challenges include rising global tensions, shifting alliances, declining international aid, which are redefining the world order. These challenges pose serious risks and unique opportunities for Africa's growth and leadership. What role will Africa play in the emerging global order? How can the continent reposition itself to protect its interests? My guest today to discuss these and many other questions is Her Excellency Ambassador Annette Gunther, the German ambassador to the Federal Republic of Nigeria and ECOWAS. Her Excellency's diplomatic career spans over 3.5 decades, where she has served as German ambassador to Kenya, Somalia, Seychelles, Botswana, etc. Over this period, she's worked in several diplomatic roles in Afghanistan, Uzbekistan, New Zealand, Tajikistan, etc. You know, she was a senior political advisor to the commander of ISAF, International Security Assistance Force in Kabul, and as Germany's Commissioner for Humanitarian Aid, Crisis Prevention, and Post-Conflict Peace Building. Ambassador Gunther has held several leadership roles within the German Federal Foreign Office in Berlin and served as a full-time board member of the Staff Council of the Foreign Office. Ambassador Gunther, welcome.
Good afternoon.
Fantastic, fantastic. You've served in some of the world's most complex diplomatic environments. From Afghanistan to Kenya and now Nigeria. How does your experience in these very diverse contexts inform your approach to Germany's engagement with West Africa?
Thank you very much for the question. Yes, indeed, you are right that many of the positions I held in my previous career kind of prepared me for what I find here in West Africa and in Nigeria. And I was not only the first Commissioner for Conflict Prevention and Stabilization, I was also Commissioner for Humanitarian Assistance, and I was also Commissioner for Migration and Refugees. And between 2015 and 18, before I went to Kenya. And in particular, during those years, I have visited Nigeria before in those capacities. You may be surprised that I was in Maiduguri in 2016, when almost nobody dared to go there in my capacity to see what we can do in terms of humanitarian assistance or also developing stabilization strategies. And then later on, also in my capacity as a Commissioner for Migration and Refugees, I've been back to Abuja. So I always say, I'm the first one who is here voluntarily, because I was really thinking, no, I'm joking, but I really wanted to come to Abuja, because I really thought that many of the things that I have seen in previous posts come together, and I hope that I can add value to my position and to our relations using those experiences, also from Afghanistan and others, So yes, I'm very happy to be here in Nigeria and enjoying myself tremendously in contributing to strengthening our bilateral relations.
Fantastic, fantastic. And in my lead up to this, I talked about the global power shifts and multilateralism that we're experiencing in the world today. Germany has traditionally been a champion of multilateralism, yet we're seeing rising skepticism towards traditional or international institutions globally. How are the domestic political currents in Germany, including the rise of alternative political voices, shaping the country's approach to Africa and multilateral engagement?
I would say over the decades, with changing governments in Germany, you have never seen a dramatic shift in our international positions regarding multilateral institutions and peace and security, our relations with our partner countries. Of course, each government may have different priorities, but I would say we are not seeing a dramatic shift here. All the more with the developments in the world, I think we have to strengthen multilateralism. We see how, you know, different poles drift apart instead of working together in the interest of mankind, of humanity, of all the countries in the world. So I think we're putting even more focus on multilateral institutions. And of course, as a member of the European Union, we strongly believe in regional cooperation, in regional economic and political integration. But of course, as you said, we see the rise of different, you know, other tendencies and opinions in the world. And I think this is where we have to come together with our partners, be it in Europe, but be it all over the world. And I think Nigeria is one of our strong partners in Africa. We have to come together with our partners to work on strengthening these institutions, because we strongly believe that only through multilateralism we can secure democracy, peace, and growth for our nations. And Nigeria is a very strong partner in this endeavor.
But we're seeing, I mean, a country as big as the United States, we're seeing these increasing attacks on big international multilateral organizations. We're seeing, you know, across the world, increasing challenges to rules-based international order. You know, how is Germany balancing its commitment to this rules-based international order with practical needs to compete, you know, with other powers like, say, China, Russia, for influence in Africa?
In particular, when it comes to Nigeria, but also Africa in general, we see that if we can make a case, a business case, and prove that our relationships and that our rules and our values will benefit both continents, Europe, and when I talk, I'm not necessarily only talking about Germany. This is also the European Union, because we in Europe, we share the same values and we work towards the same goals. But we have to make sure that our partners in Africa understand that we know that, and that my new foreign minister just said the other day to the Nigerian foreign minister, he said, whatever happens in Africa will affect us. So we cannot be ignorant. We cannot, you know, build a big fence around Europe and say, oh, we do our own thing and we don't care what happens in other parts of the world. So that's why I think we are very outgoing to explain and to prove even that this partnership is beneficial for all sides. And as has been proven or also discussed at the recent European Union, African Union, AU summit in Brussels last week, that the European Union and the member states are very much interested to cooperate with the neighboring continent, which is Africa. And in this globalized world, we all know We cannot shut off and say, like, you know, this, we are not concerned. So I think, of course, we have interest, as you rightly said. Of course, we also have interest. We have interests in peace and security. We have interests in climate issues, working together with partners in the world on climate issues. Of course, we have interest in raw materials. We have interest in providing our expertise to our partner countries, be it in agriculture, be it in industry, be it in other areas. So I think we are strong partners, and we just have to prove our case, you know, that we are the better ones, and that our values, and I'm sure, and I'm really sure, and I know that we share the same values with Nigeria, that we can be stronger together.
Exactly. And we'll get to some of these issues, especially climate finance, you know, changing climate and its issues, even impact on security. You know, but let's spend a bit of time on Germany's development philosophy. And here I'm thinking Germany's African development approach has also evolved significantly from the traditional donor-recipient models that we've seen in the past. Can you elaborate for us, you know, how Germany is thinking about its partnership with Africa strategy and how it's being implemented specifically in Nigeria and the ECOWAS region?
Yes, you're quite right that our relations, and this year we celebrate, by the way, 65 years of bilateral diplomatic relations and 50 years of development cooperation. No, that was last year. Anyway, yeah, it has undergone dramatic changes, and this is due to multiple conflicts in the world, due to challenges from climate change, due to global pandemics that we have seen in the past. So our cooperation has changed. And also, as we discussed before, declining trust in multilateralism is a challenge. And I think, and also other global challenges, be it, you know, conflicts in war in the Ukraine, conflict in Gaza, lots of conflicts in other parts of the world, Africa included. So I think our cooperation has undergone a change from classical development where you drill a borehole or you build a hospital, has more come to knowledge transfer, technology transfer, for instance, in food systems, in agriculture, you know, where we can bring added value, because most of our partners, and even Nigerian government officials, politicians, even the president said it, he said, like, we don't necessarily need your money. We want your knowledge. We want your technology. We want transfer. So I think this is where we are. And as Germany, we have four different, you know, main pillars of cooperation, which we always adjust to the priorities of our partner governments, for the Nigerian government, for that matter. So, and that is cooperation in sustainable economic development. Economic development is the key to peace and prosperity of this country. But that also includes digitalization, focus on youth. We all know Africa is the continent of the youth. So our focus is on youth development, job creation, but also energy transition, just transition, agriculture, health, and social protection. But in all we do, I can only stress it again, the youth is our focus, because the youth, and we want the young people in Africa and in Nigeria, we want them to have a good education and a brilliant future with jobs and with prosperity for their families. So this is what we are doing now. So technical cooperation and knowledge transfer, I think, is the key of what we are doing at the moment.
And I don't know if you're able to drill a bit deeper into that, because yes, the president is right, and the focus of the German government is right, that traditional aid may not be what we're looking for right now, or may not fit where we are in our development journey. I don't know if you can speak to a bit more specifics on how this transfer of knowledge, technology, especially around manufacturing, may be happening between Germany and Nigeria in the light of Nigeria's goal to really diversify away from its dependence on oil.
Well, let's take the energy sector. So we have various programs in the energy sector where we help to develop institutions like the energy corporations in the country to be more efficient, but we also build decentralized solar grids. But we also combine that, as I said, with training. I just the other day visited a training center where young people were taught how to install solar systems. And I thought, how nice, state-of-the-art solar systems. The young people were, fixing things, knew exactly the size and the capacity and how to connect it and how to do this, because transfer to solar, you can say that, but if you don't have the workforce who can implement it, there's no good. So I think it all comes together. And then this is also linked to, we haven't touched upon it, the migration issue. So training for young people can mean, they contribute to the development of their own country and their own economy, but also they can go and find jobs elsewhere in the world. And we are not against it, Germany is an aging population. We need young people, but we also need trained people. So I think the skills development and the training for young people is like two-sided. They can come and find jobs here and help, but they can also go elsewhere and work, ideally in Germany. But so I think the energy sector is one that shows it very well how layered it is. And it goes, even the energy idea goes beyond, because Nigeria has a very ambitious energy transition plan that goes to zero emissions by 63 or so, 2063. Very ambitious. At the moment, we know there are lots of fossil resources, and they must be used and they are needed to develop the economy. But we must look into the future. And that's why, like 2 years ago, Germany opened a hydrogen office here in Abuja, German-Nigerian hydrogen office, to promote knowledge and exchange in that area. Just 2 weeks, I was at a workshop with lots of stakeholders where the office contributed to the development of the Nigerian hydrogen policy paper. So also looking into the future, and there we are again, climate change, it's a global issue. We have to work together. It's important. What Nigeria does will affect us, will affect the rest of the world. So just a few examples of how interconnected all our activities are. And of course, and I agree with you, they also reflect our own interests.
Exactly. And I mean, thank you for what Germany is doing in Nigeria, especially in the development space. GIZ is a key player in the space, especially in the oil, the power sector that you've spoken about. Now, I know that German-Nigerian relations have very deep historical roots. I mean, even going back to the colonial period or even the post-independence development cooperations that we've enjoyed with Germany. How have you seen this relationship evolve over time, and what lessons from that history has informed the current cooperation models that you may be working on at this time?
As I said, we have already spoken about the transformation in the character of our cooperation. And from the beginnings until today, our bilateral relations have developed far beyond development aid. We work on trade and investment. We have, as I said, we have projects on peace and security, stabilization, humanitarian assistance, cultural relations, scholarships, students. Maybe we can come to that later, the Benin bronzes that have come back. We have cooperation on energy and climate change. We have security cooperation. We have military cooperation. So it's very broad and multifaceted what we are doing, and I think it covers the whole range of the activities of a society. But what I think is really important, and you asked about the past, I have met so many people in Nigeria who told me that 30 years ago, 40 years ago, that they studied in Germany or did a PhD in Germany. And I think it is those people's relations, it's this, experience of each other's countries and culture that really brings us closer together. And that's why we really try to work also on that side to get people moving from one side to the other for work, for study, for cultural exchange, whatever, because this is what brings us closer together. Governments can talk to each other. My foreign minister can talk to the Nigerian foreign minister. But, the real relations between two countries is the people having those connections. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And let's speak a bit about transnational security threats, especially as your remit covers West Africa. How do you understand the security threats we face in the West Africa region? In your view, what are some of the root causes, and how is Germany and Nigeria and ECOWAS working together to address some of these transnational threats that we face in the region?
I think everything we experience, as I said earlier, is no longer a national issue. It's always trans-border. So peace can be trans-border, but terrorism and conflict can also be trans-border. Wars, are not limited regionally. It will affect all of us. So I think what we see in the region is manifold origins of tensions and conflict. One of the reasons may be lack of development, or lack of development in a speed, that is seen and felt by the people. So I think through development, of course, we can always reduce tensions, because these conflicts are about resources usually. But also we see, and that may have to do with other conflicts, we also see infiltration of terrorism in the region, and that doesn't stop at borders. We cannot be ignorant or not interested in what's going on in the Sahel region, because that terrorism comes over to what are they called? the coastal countries, yes. And also into Nigeria. And that is why we very much support regional efforts in security. We support ECOWAS in many areas. We are the biggest contributor to the Regional Stabilization Facility, which is a funding facility, and I think Germany contributed more than 100 million into it's the Lake Chad Stabilization Facility. We work with the Lake Chad Basin Organization. Most of that 100 million, I think about 90 million, went into the stabilization of the Bay States, of the 3 northeastern countries. And this year, again, it was Germany that started the Northwest Prevention Facility, where we, as the first country, have already contributed 7 million euro, and we're hoping for other partners to come in, because we believe that development and stabilization helps to reduce tensions and conflicts, and helps the people to come back to a normal life. We have just opened housing estates with more than, 150 buildings. And what is very important in this kind of cooperation, that we do it together with the local governments, with the governors and the governors in those states. in Kaduna or Katsina or Sokoto or wherever, because then that creates ownership. That creates ownership. And this is also the change from the past. It's not like we are just coming and throwing a lot of money somewhere. No, now we do it together. You know, we give that much, and the governor and his government, they give that much, and we do that project together. And this is, I think, very important, because then also the people have this ownership. The region, I think, it is very, of course, deplorable that 3 Sahel states have left ECOWAS, and of course, therefore, they have created a lack in military cooperation in fight against terrorism. So I think we are now working on ways how we can still work together, how we can keep up this cooperation, how we can support them, because it's not a solution to say like, oh, let them go. No, they are neighbors, you know, they are neighbors of Nigeria, they are neighbors of the region, they are, and as I said, whatever happens in this region will affect us. So we're very much interested in stabilizing the region and supporting the region in their security cooperation and in ECOWAS. So some of our projects with ECOWAS also address security issues.
In fact, I want to drill a bit deeper into that, especially given your experience in places like Afghanistan with ISAF, or in other conflict zones. What are some of your experiences from those conflicts that help you understand what we're dealing with in Nigeria and the region, that could then help inform solutions to this current challenge?
I think one of the experiences is that the people on the other side of the conflict, they haven't been born as terrorists, you know? Yeah. They have grievances. There's always a reason why they have turned into what they are. And as we have seen we have seen that in Iraq, in Syria, in Afghanistan, you can win them back, but you have to give them opportunities. You have to give them a future that is beyond fighting and killing. And I think this is what we are replicating, or what we are doing in the Northeast, where, as I said, we invest a lot in the demobilization and reintegration programs of former Boko Haram affiliates. Maybe not the hardcore, fighters. They have to go to justice. But hundreds of thousands have, as they call it, come out of the bush. But they are not terrorists. They just happen to live in these territories. So they are affiliates or whatever. They are farmers and their families. So they have to come back. So you have to give them a future. You have to give them accommodation. You have to give them a job. You have to, bring them back into society. And I think that's one of the strong experiences from many other conflicts. They will not go, terrorists, they will not just go away and you can't kill them all. This is not the solution. The solution is to find out what are their problems and how can we win them back into our societies. So, and that's what we are doing very much in the Northeast in particular.
And how has that collaboration between the Nigerian governments in the ECOWAS region been with Germany? And if you could fix anything to make it more effective, what would that be? What are some of the insights from your work first as a commissioner for humanitarian aid, post-conflict peace building in Germany, and your work today in the region? What are some insights and some things that if we could change that, it could bring to better peace building, better conflict prevention in the region?
You can always do things better than you're doing them at the moment. I think we are very good, actually, working together with the local governments. Governor Zulum, I don't know, I see him on a regular basis, and I think our programs are really geared at this ownership, What could maybe be better is if the security coordination between the federal government and the states you know, if there would be a closer link and coordination in addressing these security challenges, that would be something that might be helpful, because on the one hand we try to let's say mediate, moderate conflicts, let's say in Kaduna or on Plateau or wherever, but these local activities have to be better coordinated with the federal level and the security forces on the federal level. So maybe that's one thing that can be improved. And of course, ownership. But really, I'm not complaining. I mean, we're very good and very close with the local governments, with local communities, with local leaders, religious leaders, traditional leaders. Everybody is involved, because without ownership and without involving the people, you cannot come as German government and say, like, we have a lot of money here, we'll fix it. No, we will not fix it. We are helping people to fix it themselves.
So let's talk a bit about migration here. I know you touched on it a bit earlier on, but let's see if we can drill a bit deeper into it. It's a term that is not seen very positively in many parts. In fact, it is mostly framed in crisis terms. You know, all these Africans are leaving for Europe. You know, see what's going to happen to Europe, etc. And it's also fueled some of the alternative voices that we're beginning to see in Europe, in Germany, etc. How can Germany and Nigeria work together to create more maybe positive narratives around mobility, around migration?
Yes, you're right. Unfortunately, there's always a negative connotation to migration, but that's not true. Most of the migration happens locally, within one country, or maybe from one country to another country. So you see the conflict in Sudan. So people migrate the other side to Chad and other neighboring countries. They are not all coming. They're not a very, very small fraction, if at all, they are coming to Europe. You know, this is a misconception, and maybe it's abused by people who want to give that bad name to migration. Of course, migration has to happen. If it happens, let's say, to Europe, to Germany, it has to happen in an orderly manner. You know, we all have rule of law in our countries, and there are laws, and even if you want to enter Nigeria, you need a visa. You cannot just come. So same rules. And I think, as I said earlier, Europe, not only Germany, Europe, we are an aging population, and we need young people. We need migration from other parts of the world, Africa included, to keep our economies going. You know, this is the truth. So I think we are very much interested in migration, but we are interested in regular migration, in legal pathways, be it to study, be it to work, be it to visit, tourism even, you know. What in the past, since 2015, that's when I started as Commissioner for Humanitarian Assistance, was this refugee crisis, where we see people going on illegal paths, dying in the Mediterranean, dying on, you know, long routes through Europe under terrible conditions. You know, this is nothing that we want, and it does not reflect our humanity and our picture of how people should move from one place to the other. So I think we are interested in an orderly and safe, regular migration from other parts to the world, to Germany and to Europe. And I think that's what we are working on. You have seen that Germany has concluded a migration agreement with Kenya a couple of months ago, where we describe what are the pathways, what can we do, what kind of education is needed. People need to, when you come to Germany, honestly, you have to speak a few words of German, otherwise you cannot survive. You can migrate to the US, to Canada, to England, but in Germany it's a bit more difficult. And because Germany is so widely spoken, not like in other smaller European countries where people speak English very well. I think in some smaller places in Germany, you really need to speak. So anyway, but we are working on this. We have already, I think, 7 centers for migration and development that are run by GIZ in Nigeria. One is in Lagos, in Edo, here in Abuja. One is just outside Abuja, where we inform people about legal pathways of migration to Germany, where we prepare them, where we explain them what is needed, which certificates you need, or what degree you need to go to study, to do this, to do that. We also help, let's say someone only wants to go because they're looking for a better life, or they're looking for a job, or they're so desperate. They don't want to leave, but they're so desperate that they think they have to leave. So we also educate them. We also have skills training, job training for them, to give them the opportunity to find a livelihood in Nigeria and don't have to migrate. And also these centers look after people who come back from Europe and from Germany in particular after maybe illegal migration. And these centers are all over the country, and this is part of our migration policy as we have it so far. And then, as I said, many of the GIZ projects on skills development, of course, prepare people for legal migration to Germany.
And just to push that one step deeper, so we look at Nigeria and Africa, actually, just very young, dynamic population, median age of somewhere around 18 or 19 years. So many years, very dynamic people, very educated, could be educated, just able to work, able to see opportunities and take advantage of those opportunities. On the flip side, we have a Europe that has a bit of a demographic challenge, so aging populations, etc. Do you see an opportunity where Africa and Europe could look at this as real opportunities to find a way to balance what could be a challenge in Africa, because we don't have a lot of opportunities for these young people to get gainfully employed, but again in Europe, where you don't have young people who should run the system there? Are there these discussions at your level in diplomatic circles on how to see this as an advantage and not a problem, of just balancing this demographic imbalance that then favors both parties? Are you having those kinds of conversations? If yes, how is that evolving?
No, these conversations are happening, of course, because, as I said, we need young people to work in our economies. And here, there are so many young people that you can't even maybe create opportunities for everybody. So why not, have this exchange? But as I said, it has to be orderly, because, and I think some of the negative attitudes towards migration, or maybe towards foreigners in some European countries, in Germany included, is because if it doesn't happen in an orderly manner, and if the people are not integrated well, if they are not prepared well, if they do not speak the language to some extent, then of course that creates tensions. And that's why it has to be orderly. And that's why we say everybody who has a job offer in Germany already, he will not end up in the streets or somewhere or with social welfare. He has a job offer, a concrete job offer, and he knows where he was going to stay. Then no problem, We had really about half a year ago, we had a regional seminar of migration officers, German migration officers here in the region. And there was one colleague from Burkina Faso, and she told the story of 3 young men who went to Germany. I don't know whether legally or not legal. Anyway, they ended up in Germany in a small enterprise, in a small factory. And the boss of that company, he was so happy with them, and they integrated well, and they learned the language. Everybody liked them. They were hardworking. Everything was wonderful. And the guy, I mean, because we are lacking workforce, then the boss of the company said, like, don't you have some more cousins and brothers in your villages there? You know? And you know what happened? The boss of the company paid, I think they selected 3 other friends, brothers, cousins, I don't know. He paid for these people to learn German for 3 months or 6 months. Then he gave them the job guarantee. And with that job guarantee, they could come to Germany because they had already friends and family members there. They knew where they were going. They integrated in the same company. So it works wonderful if it's well organized and, you know, if it's well prepared. And that's what we want. We want regular, well-organized migration into our labor market, into our economy. You know,
So maybe
very welcome. And then, of course, yeah, the visa issues, you know, visa capacities at our missions are limited, but we are preparing for that, and we have to prepare because this is the precondition. So there are many things that have to be, you know, put in place for that regular migration, but this is exactly what we want.
So I guess the question I was really trying to get to is, looking at it from outside, looking at it, you know, I see a Europe that would need young people. And I see an Africa that has way too many young people, you know, who are smart, who have energy, who can do the work. And my question is the government doing anything actively to see that these types of young people get to Germany and not leave it to the business men or, you know, business people to work it out? Is there an active government program, policy to say, looking into the future, we need young people in this country. We can get them in Africa, almost like what the Canadians are doing, you know, where they're, you know, skimming off the really smart young people. Do you have that kind of conversation happening in Germany or Europe-wide?
Of course, we are having these conversations. And I think within Europe, there are already new regulations that allow foreigners, no matter where from, to come into the labor market more easily. There are special labor market portals where you can find jobs or where you can find your match. So I think many new regulations have come into place to make it easier. But what I have seen is indeed more the private initiative, not private, but private economy. There is one chamber of trade and industry in one part of Germany, and they have they questioned their member companies and said, like, so what kind of personnel, what kind of workers do you need? And then they found out, okay, they need in the care industry, in hospitals, people are needed. In hospitality, people are needed. Truck drivers are very much in need. This and that, welders and whatnot. And they go out and they have a very close cooperation with Nigeria. And then they come on a regular basis to work with our Chamber of Industry, German chamber here, to see what can we do now to find exactly those people here in Nigeria that their membership companies in Germany need. But this is very much needs-based, and this is going to be successful because then the young people, even if they are prepared, they work together with the Goethe Institute for German courses and with the skills centers and GIZ to find these people and to prepare them to go. But you know, this is what I mean by private initiative is it's needs-based. You know, the companies themselves go out and look for these people, and it has already become kind of a bit of an industry that companies specialize to find certain skilled labor all over the world for certain companies in Germany and bring them there. And I think this cooperation has started with Nigeria already. And of course, there's much more scope to maybe regulate it a little bit more and to expand it more. But it's happening. It's happening all the time. And as I said, there are new regulations also in Germany coming into place to make it much easier for people to come into our economy.
Fantastic, fantastic. Now let's talk a bit about trade and investment landscape. I mean, if you look at the size of Nigeria, despite the market size and potential, German investment in Nigeria remains relatively modest. What, in your view, are the main barriers to this? You know, why are we not seeing a lot more German investment in Nigeria? And are there any specific issues that are top of mind for you? And then maybe we can talk about your thoughts on how those could be resolved.
Trade between Nigeria and Germany, indeed, there's room for improvement, but between 22 and 23, the trade volume has risen from 2 billion euro to 3 billion euro, which means it's a 50% increase, but on a low level. I agree. We have a few companies. We have about 90 companies who have representative offices who do trading. Some produce, some, but there's of course a lot of room for improvement. And we have seen a lot of increase in interest. When you remember when our Chancellor Scholz was here in 23. With a big business delegation, and after that visit, you really, even the embassy, we could feel how many more questions we got, how many more companies interested in working or finding partners in Nigeria. And then last year, when the federal president was here, again with a big business delegation, this was another boost. And if you ask me, maybe a bit later this year, when we have the statistics for 24. I bet that trade relations have risen again last year, but that of course is not enough. We see some companies that are producing here. Do you know that Nivea? We all know Nivea, blue cream lotion, shampoo, deo spray. It's a German company. It's a German product. Most people think it's English, but no, it's German. And it is produced in Lagos, and they have a state-of-the-art production facility there. I've been there myself. This factory could be in Germany, no difference at all. High quality products. So it's possible. You can do it, but they say it's not always easy. And of course, they struggle, let's say, with the same problems that all foreign, even local companies struggle with. Infrastructure, roads, access to markets, access to ports, electricity supply is probably the biggest impediment for economic growth and also for investment. Of course, workforce, okay, skilled labor, that problem I think can be solved more easily. I think infrastructure, roads, access to markets, and economy. I have one German company, they have and I'm not saying the name, they have a very small production facility here, and he said, like, I can double, triple, I can produce 10 times more if I wanted to, but I can't because I need a lot of energy, and the energy supply is just not reliable. So he says, like, I bring in 500 containers of my product through the ports, and that's cheaper than producing here and facing the challenges of energy supply. And that's why, again, the Presidential Power Initiative, another buzzword in our relations, and that's why we engage with through Siemens Energy in this partnership to improve and upgrade the energy power transmission and distribution systems, because this, I think, is one of the preconditions. And then, of course, but I think there's a good way, like the new tax bills may simplify tax regulations, which is also better for foreign investors. So legal security of investment is also very important for foreign investors. So there's many areas where there's room for improvement, but it's not impossible. It happens, and we can encourage it, and we have lots of successful examples. But you know, it's a process, I would say. But we must not sleep and we must not be late, because, and you said again, we are competitors with other countries, with other systems, with others who want to invest in Africa, who want the resources of Africa. So I think this is a process where we have our interests and where we have to see how can we together overcome some of those impediments for bigger investments.
And I mean, I must thank the German government, especially the work you do through GIZ. You know, who we have worked with as a firm in some of the work it does in the power space, and also in just expanding like impact investing in Nigeria, etc. So, you know, kudos, very well done. But a question about Nigeria and Germany and Africa: how central is Nigeria to Germany's let's call it Marshall Plan with Africa? You know, so this broader partnership strategy that Germany is running in Africa. How central is Nigeria to that strategy? And what makes Nigeria strategically important to Germany beyond our size? You know, is there anything else that you're seeing that makes us strategically important, this relationship to Germany?
By sheer size and economic power, of course, Nigeria is, as it calls itself, the giant of Africa, and it is. Nigeria is the most populous country on the continent and the strongest economy. Same Germany. We are the most populous country in Europe and the strongest economy in Europe. So we feel like we are natural partners in a way. Yep. But as I said, Africa is our neighboring continent with challenges, but also lots of opportunities. And then having Nigeria as one of, you know, the strongest countries in Africa, I think we have to work together. We have to be partners, because all the challenges that I talked about earlier, from climate problems, energy transformation, security challenges, all these things we can only achieve together, and we cannot achieve it individually. So I think our interest is also to strengthen Nigeria, because we see that Nigeria can play an important role within Africa for its African partner countries, for its African neighbors. So I think we would like to see and we would like to support Africa playing that role in inter-African development in general, inter-African trade relations, inter-African, of course, peace solutions, inter-African growth opportunities, exchanges, development, education, health. So many things that could be done. I think Nigeria should play a leading role and is a leading country in Africa, and we would like to support it, and we would like to be a partner in that, of course.
Excellent, excellent. Where else do you see, or which sectors of the economy do you see the most growth opportunity in? You know, in your discussions with the Nigerian government, in your discussions with German businesses, where do you see those growth opportunities within the Nigerian economy?
I think
so something like in tech, you know, I personally think that there are great opportunities for German companies to collaborate with tech companies in Nigeria. We're not seeing a lot of that, but I wonder if there are other areas that you see these opportunities.
I think the tech and the fintech sector are surprisingly well developed in Nigeria, very well developed. without our cooperation, you know? So, and that of course is rather something where we want to join and where we want to cooperate and maybe benefit from that development. But the biggest sector of the economy we know is agriculture. And not only because it's the biggest sector of the economy, but it's also the most important sector for food security and social welfare and, you know, the well-being of the people. So I think the agricultural sector is a sector that has huge potential for development, and not only for national food security, but also for export in the region and beyond. But there, of course, it has to be intensified. This, you know, certain standards have to be met if you want to export to the neighbors, to countries. You need access to the markets, you need packaging and whatnot, transportation. But I think this is the sector with the biggest potential for growth, and with also the biggest benefit for the people of the country. Of course, I always hear Foreign Minister Tuka saying, yeah, the raw materials that we're having, the minerals, please come, but not only exploit, but also work with them and so on a value adding, you know, value chain within the country. So not just take the lithium with you and export it, but let's process it here in the country. So I think the mineral sector is also one with huge potential, but it will only be beneficial if processing and value chains happen within the country.
And that kind of relates to one of the questions / comments that I see in the Q&A session. It's from an anonymous attendee or someone who hasn't put his or her name in, but says, thank you for the very efficient visa process that you've got going. He or she is a fellow of the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation and had to renew their visa, etc. And it was done very quickly. Really appreciative of that. I'm also quite appreciative of the work that Germany is doing on the German Hydrogen Office and related capacity building initiatives. But wants to know if the embassy is looking to think beyond that work and expand its engagement into supporting the development of local industries in Nigeria, particularly in the areas of mining, battery manufacturing, and solar panel production. So are there any thoughts in supporting investments in those areas?
Of course, anything in many of our programs, as I said earlier, that are still related to development cooperation / GIZ work, renewable energies and play a very important role. So if we want to, if renewables and solar in particular are to make a difference in a size, the time being, we have lots of German companies, quite a few German companies supplying solar energy solutions, but they are not produced in Nigeria yet. But this is the way to go, because solar solutions are needed in an extension that it would make a lot of sense to develop that kind of industry in the country. But we are not there. I mean, we are not there yet. I couldn't give you an example how we engage in the ideas. We also engage, as I said, the hydrogen office to see what needs to be done, what has to come together to help Nigeria develop its own hydrogen strategy. We have one or two companies where we might have some engagement, for instance, with natural gas, how to use the flaring gas that is at the moment just wasted and burned into the atmosphere and pollution. What technical I would say yes, everything we do goes into that direction, but we are not producing solar panels yet. So,
Yeah. And so again, you had mentioned earlier on in one of your responses about the Goethe Institute, about the Benin bronzes that have been returned, etc., and cultural diplomacy, and how it creates even, tighter bonds, more lasting bonds between nations. How does Germany use its cultural exchange to strengthen its relationship with Nigeria? What has worked? What can we work on together to even strengthen those bonds?
Nations and the people. The return of the Benin bronzes is one thing, but more importantly, we are working on expanding our cultural cooperation with museums. So I think the whole discussion about the bronzes has brought about lots of relationships between German museums and Nigerian museums with the Nigerian National, what is called? This is the word. And we have, for instance, that may not be known, Germany has contributed to the